David Addison trackside. It's 33 minutes plus 1 lap, and this the first race of what is a very busy weekend here at Spa. A number of drivers, I think, are going to try and get an extra installation lap in. You can see them heading back through the pit lane, coming out of the bus stop. And Spa always delivers great Formula 3 racing. One of the best circuits in the championship calendar for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship is Spa-Francorchamps. Welcome to the first of 3 races here in the Ardennes Forest on, can you believe it, a dry circuit and with the sun shining. It's a far cry from the start of the week when they had testing in the rain. Qualifying was done yesterday on a dry road, and Lando Norris took pole position. Indeed, he's taken 3 pole positions. He's on pole for each of the 3 races. The very, very talented young British driver who's had 2 race wins already this year comes here 3rd in the championship, and let's see how he fares from pole position. Pole position's vital in Formula 3, given that they're hard cars in which to overtake. It's a staggered grid, so he's a length up on the opposition, but 2 extra things need factoring in here. One is that Lando Norris's starts have been modest at times compared to others. They're not necessarily his forte, but they are improving, and that has always given us some great racing as Lando fights back. Witness Silverstone, witness Monza especially. But also, Spa is a great circuit for overtaking in Formula 3. It can be done. You can get a tow all the way up towards Les Combes, up through Radiant. We have had some great races here in the past, whether it's been across British Formula 3 or the European Championship. And so for this weekend, we're expecting more of the same. David Addison trackside, looking down onto the grid, which for this weekend is 18 cars strong, 33 minutes plus 1 lap. Championship leader coming here is Maximilian Günther, who has taken 4 race wins, but the grid has Brits at the front, Lando Norris and Callum Ilott. Carlin from Prema Power Team at the top, ahead of Jake Hughes, another of the British drivers for High-Tech. And then the championship leader, Maximilian Günther, comes next, ahead of Nikita Mazepin. And then another race winner this year, Jahan Daruvala. Then it is Ralph Aaron, ahead of Harrison Newey. Guan Yu Zhao is 9th on the grid, and Pedro Piquet lining up 10th in the Van Amersfoort car. 11th is where you find Jerry Mawson, who was impeded in qualifying by Zhao, who got a 3-place grid drop. Jerry Mawson 11th, ahead of Joel Eriksson, who's also bagged 4 race wins this year and has led the championship. Ferdinand Habsburg comes next, ahead of Mick Schumacher, son of Michael Schumacher. Then it is David Beckman, who was good in testing, but a long way back in qualifying, ahead of Kevin Andres Sori. Marino Sato is next, and then newcomer to this championship, Amea Vaidyanathan for Carlin, is 18th on the grid. That is how they line up then, and the drivers good to go. As I say, it's a 1-by-1 staggered grid, and Lando Norris lining up on pole position on the inside of the circuit for La Source, the British driver, the winner last year of the BRDC McLaren Autosport Young Driver of the Year award. He knows Spa. He's won here in Formula Renault. He's won here in Formula 4. Go back to 2015 when this championship was here, supported by the German Formula 4 Championship. You had 2 outright race wins for Joel Eriksson, 1 for Lando Norris, and rookie wins taken by David Beckman and Guan Yu Zhao, all of whom are on this grid. So you see how that progression has continued. We've got a number of drivers, a number of teams operating a single plane rear wing for speed on the straights going into this race. High-Tech and Van Amersfoort and Motor Park employing that, with the exception of the car of Marino Sato as you look down at Callum Ilott. 2 new tyres on the left-hand side of the car for Günther, Schumacher, Ilott, who all come out of Prema. Jerry Mawson, Harrison Newey from Van Amersfoort. Nikita Mazepin also has got a couple of new left tyres, so too for Carlin Vaidyanathan and Lando Norris and Kevin Suri for the Motor Park squad as well. So with the tyre regulation, the tyre limitation, you've got to be careful how you use those across the 3 races. Some going for 2 new tyres. Jake Hughes there, 3rd on the grid, so it's been a good qualifying session for the British drivers. The High-Tech team a little bit at sea at the start of the season, but things have improved really since Hungary, I suppose, and definitely at Norris Ring, where Jake was unlucky in one race to get clobbered by Lando Norris, who did apologise to him after the contact, but it put them both out of contention. But Jake Hughes fought back and did get a podium in one of the races across that street circuit weekend. 4th on the grid is where you find Maximilian Günther, who comes here as the championship leader. 34 points to the good now over Joel Eriksson, who really has to fight back this weekend, but he's been out-qualified again. Maxi Günther in his 3rd year in the championship, runner-up last year. He really ought to be one of the favourites for victory this season, and lining himself up then on the outside of that 2nd row of the grid. 5th on the grid is Nikita Mazepin, the Russian driver, who was a winner last year in the BRDC British F3 Championship on a guest outing. He's been a quick Formula Renault racer as well. He drives for High-Tech, and the Russian driver has had a season of decent pace, but not yet really having translated into podium finishes. But it could all change around the Spa circuit. Let's see how he fares over this next 33 minutes on the lap, the regulation lap at the end. And then 6th on the grid is the Indian driver, a winner at the Norris Ring, Jahan Daruvala. And Jan was very, very quick at Monza. Unlucky late race to lose out to Lando Norris in the first of the 3 races there, but Daruvala will be one to watch here, I suspect, as well, with his confidence buoyed by that good result, that good win at the Norris Ring last time out. So he's another of the Carlin drivers, the Force India Junior. Lando Norris looked after by the McLaren Formula 1 team, for example. Lots of these drivers with a link to an F1 squad. The Estonian driver, Ralph Aaron, comes next on the grid, driving for High-Tech. And Ralph, a winner last season at the Hungaroring, has struggled a little bit this year, but he has been on the podium at Po, the difficult street circuit at the Po Grand Prix, the 3rd race of which for the Grand Prix title was where he got a podium, and that race won by Maximilian Günther, one of his 4 race wins this year. So the formation lap is now 3 minutes away. The grid is gradually being cleared. All the engineers making their way back into the pit road as you look down onto the grid to find Harrison Newey, winner at the start of the year of the MRF Challenge. the Indian-based 2-litre single-seater series. He snatched the title from under the nose of Joey Mawson on a tie-break in the last race, and it was a great effort by Harry Newey, but he's still struggling a little bit in Formula 3. The pace is getting better, but Van Amersfoort, that has got a great reputation in this championship, has really struggled this season, and that, to a degree, is compromising Harry Newey and Joey Mawson as well, who we find even further back on the grid. Number 8, another driver to keep an eye to, Guan Yu Zhao, who's gone strongly here to win his class in F4, the rookie category. But he was deemed to have impeded Joey Mawson in the qualifying session for this race. He is one of the Ferrari juniors. You'll see the Ferrari Driver Academy sticker on the car. And so a 3-place grid drop for Guan Yu Zhao for that impeding another driver offence. Let's see what progress he can make then, starting 9th on the grid. And then 10th is another from the Van Amersfoort fleet, Pedro Piquet, younger son of Nelson. And Pedro in his 2nd year of Formula 3. He's forsaken the pseudo-Parmalat colour scheme that he ran last year to go into the rather more traditional Van Amersfoort black and orange. And certainly progress is being made by Pedro Piquet. He's shown better pace this year. He's been more competitive this season. And he will round out the top 10 on the grid ahead of his teammate Joey Mawson, the Australian, the reigning German F4 champion. And as I say, he's made that graduation via the MRF Challenge. There is another of the Van Amersfoort cars, the Australian driver who's done virtually all his car racing in Europe now. And he's carving a good name for himself. And then behind him on the grid, you get to another man to watch, because Joel Eriksson, you'll see just over Joey Mawson's left shoulder, number 1 in the Motor Park car, now 2nd in the championship and with a lot of points to try to make up. Further back on the grid, Ferdinand Habsburg, he was on the podium at Monza in the first race, went strongly there, but has struggled a bit since, the Austrian driver for Trevor Carlin's eponymous team. Habsburg lining up 13th on the grid and 14th, a long way back on the grid, and somebody really struggling this year, I'm afraid, Mick Schumacher, who's had 1 podium out of 15 races. And Schumacher here is going to struggle, I would have thought, from 14th to make the podium. He might gain some places, given that you can overtake, you can benefit from a tow, but it's going to be difficult for him. So the cars will be released in a moment. There at the back of the grid is newcomer Amaya Vaidyanathan, who drives for the Carlin team, and gaining experience all the time. He was only 3/10 away from Marino Sato at the back of the grid. Vaidyanathan new to this spec of car and making progress all the time. So the grid is cleared. At the 1-minute board, everybody will be off the grid, and then on the race director's command at 12:14, which is now in about 10 seconds time, the cars will be released. It's an opportunity to get warmth into the Hankook rubber on which everybody runs. It's the same chassis for everybody, not by regulation, but just by the evolution of Formula 3. Everybody has a Dallara chassis. On come the green lights then to say that the warming up lap is now officially underway, and Lando Norris sprints clear down towards La Source. He's got to do that for real, though, next time around when it's the start of the race. If he nails the start, it's going to be hard to stop, I think, given his pace around here this weekend. It's a real driver's circuit. It's one that Lando Norris revels in, and Amaya Vaidyanathan gets away from the back of the grid a little bit delayed, but will play catch-up and slot onto the tail of Marino Sato for the Motor Park team. Motor Park, a team that, after a really good start to the season, has lost its way a little bit. They made mistakes with tyre pressures at Hungary, struggled at Norris Ring, and have struggled here as well. So Joel Eriksson now feeling the pressure in the championship, knowing that he's lost his championship lead, knowing that he's got to fight back, but also perhaps the team now making wrong calls in its desperation to redress the situation. Lando Norris, though, for Carlin, and Callum Eilert for Prema, Jake Hughes for High Tech Grand Prix. The 3 British drivers locking out the front of this grid. And Jake Hughes looking for a maiden victory this season, former BRDC F4 champion, going back a few seasons before making the move to GP3 and now Formula 3, working his way down towards Bruxelles, 99 there, which is the Russian driver Nikita Mazepin. So just as we've said that Motor Park has kind of fallen away over recent rounds, the high-tech squad has made great strides forward as well, with Jake Hughes consistently up at the front, Nikita Mazepin showing better pace as well. So one team benefiting as another has its problems. Motor Park drops away slightly, and high-tech makes that step forward, which is all part and parcel of Formula 3, because yes, you have the engine battle between Mercedes and Volkswagen. You've got everybody in the same chassis, the Dallara, but with the team warfare going on, it adds an extra dimension to see which teams are stronger. Some are strong everywhere, like Carlin, like Prema, others having good and bad weekends at the moment, and it's that consistency over 30 races that you've got to absolutely nail over the course of a season. The championship, perhaps not as strong numerically as it was a few seasons ago, but certainly in terms of the quality at the pointy end of the grid, it is very, very strong, very competitive indeed. Callum Eilert, remember, a couple of weeks ago at Silverstone made his Formula 2 debut, now having to adapt to a rather less powerful car, but it's not been a difficult transition to return to this at all. It's his third year of Formula 3. Lando Norris, one of the rookies, of course, moving up from Formula Renault into a Formula 3 chassis for this year, working his way through Blanchimont. Lando, who's done a huge amount of racing since he started, came out of Ginetta Junior Racing, then had a spell in Formula Renault, winning the NEC, winning in the Euro Cup, moving into Formula 3 this year, but he's also raced in the German and the Italian F4 championships and British F4 along the way. So there's barely, certainly up until this year, been a weekend, it feels like, where there hasn't been a race somewhere that Lando Norris has been on the grid. So the track time is there, the mileage is there, and now he's ready to underline just how talented a driver he is. Callum Ilott has other ideas about this, though. 2 wins this year for Lando, 4 for Callum. And then Jake Hughes looking for his maiden victory. They are the 3 drivers at the front of the grid, with Maximilian Günther fourth, the championship leader. From Günther's point of view, yes, he'd like a win, but does he think about banking points now, knowing that he's ahead on the grid of Joel Eriksson, who will slot into place further back, lining up 12th there. Mick Schumacher, always the centre of attention, slotting into position. He was a race winner, a championship contender in F4, but has not yet really been able to get to grips as effectively with F3 as 1 or 2 others. So it is the 16th round of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. It is 33 minutes plus 1 lap. It is Spa-Francorchamps in the sunshine. The green flag at the back says that everybody has returned from the warming up lap. 5 red lights will go on. When the lights go out, we'll be underway, and a good getaway by Lando Norris then as they blast down towards La Source for the first time, but coming up alongside him, Callum Ilott on the outside line. They break for La Source, but Lando Norris on the inside should be able to hang on to the advantage, which he does as they work their way now through the tight hairpin and plunge downhill for the first time. Norris leading the way, Ilott second, Jake Hughes third, fourth is Günther, and then fifth looks like being Mazepin, just ahead of Daruvula as they drop down towards Eau Rouge. But now look, Callum Ilott is in the draft. He may well, should well, be able to get a tow here and go for the race lead on the run up towards Les Combes. Gets the slipstream, pulls to the outside line. Lando Norris here, easy prey, and look, Jake Hughes gets a double tow. Hughes third, looking for a gap between them. Maximilian Günther gets a tow off everybody. He goes to the inside line. Lando Norris somehow hangs on to the advantage, but only just. Callum Ilott alongside him over the curb. Günther goes third. Günther goes second. Ilott hits Hughes. Off they go. Jake Hughes with broken suspension is out of the race, and Callum Ilott to the other side of the track, I fear, is out as well. It was Ilott wide all over the curb. He bounced back on. There he is in 53, down towards Bruxelles, but possibly with damage. And poor old Jake Hughes, through no fault of his own, gets absolutely nailed halfway around the first lap of the race. He is parked by the side of the circuit, and through it all, Lando Norris has managed to hang on to the race lead, but going with him in second spot then is Maximilian Günther. Callum Ilott's perhaps damaged car trying to fend off now Johan Daruvula, who runs wide, not as wide as others though, as they bounce over the curb coming out of the long left at Pouan. That was Ralph Aron going very, very wide indeed. Cars making their way towards the piff-paff and slowing right down. I'm waiting to see if we've got yellow flags anywhere. We are not told of a safety car or a full course yellow on the timing screen, but Lando Norris has slowed the pace right down. There is a yellow. I think the other side of that board will either say FCY for full course yellow. There it is, confirmation. It's not yet come up on the timing screen, but the drivers get the message. They see the flashing lights, they see the boards, and that is to remove Jake Hughes' car out of harm's way. So the gaps should remain, and now in fact we are going safety car. The safety car legend comes up on the screen, so full course yellow slows everybody right down, then the safety car comes out to gather everybody up. That way it's a safer way of implementing the safety car. You don't have people suddenly having to stand on the brakes because they've arrived on the tail of a queue of cars. Everybody slows the pace and then will gradually build up, and Jake Hughes walks away utterly dejected because this was a race from third on the grid that promised so much, and with Callum Ilott clattering over the curb, bouncing back onto the road and just catching Jake Hughes. You saw the broken suspension as the wheel flew into the air. The car stranded by the side of the circuit, and again, poor old Jake, wrong place, wrong time. So the full course yellow boards are shown. Here is the replay. Have a look at Ilott on the outside. He didn't give it up, did he? He tried to stay alongside Lando Norris, ran out of road, went over the curb. Günther goes round the outside of Jake Hughes. Now here comes Ilott back onto the circuit, launches himself over the curb, and then kaboom, as he comes back on, just goes into the side of Jake Hughes. And Jake tried to steer out of it. He couldn't have gone much further, I don't think, to the right-hand side. So he did his best, but that was an errant Ilott, I'm afraid, that did for him. And so now we've got both full course yellow and safety car legends on the timing screen, but the field is gradually bunching its way up as they come over the timing line. Now, all of these laps count within the 33 minutes. There is that timed element and then the regulation lap at the end. So Lando Norris leads them across the line at the end of lap 1. Maximilian Gunter it is in second spot. Third is now Nikita Mazepin, ahead of Ralph Aaron in fourth. Fifth is Callum Ilott, soldiering on despite any damage. In sixth place is Joey Mawson. That's not a bad first lap because he was, what, 11th on the grid. Seventh, having dropped down, is Jan Daruvala. Eighth is Harry Newey. Ninth is Mick Schumacher, who's also made progress from 14th to 9th. And 10th, and you only get points in the top 10, is Guan Yu Zhao. With 12th, Joel Eriksson. So he has made no progress. He started 12th and he remains 12th, which is not great news at all for somebody trying to fight back in the championship. So he needs to get himself into the top 10. And more than anything, he needs to be ahead of Maximilian Gunter. But Gunter has stayed out of all of the dramas on that first lap. Sometimes the cards fall right for you, and they have for Gunter. And now he's in second place. So an 18-point haul he would get, and none for Ericsson would extend that margin further. Were things to stay as they are, and I rather doubt they will, given, as I say, how you can overtake around here. You saw the evidence, everybody trying to gain track position on the run-up towards Les Camps. And there, Jake Hughes, helmet off, stands looking at the damaged car, waiting for the recovery vehicle to come. So this is the start of it. Up Radion, Callum Ilott to the outside. Jake Hughes gets a tow off both cars, but then he can't find a gap. So which way does he go? And then he gives a tow to Gunter. So Gunter goes to the inside. Ilott to the outside of Norris, doesn't give it up, tries to brave it out all the way around, loses track position anyway, goes over the curb, and as he rejoins, having launched over that high curb, that unsettles him, spears him across into Jake Hughes, who saw it coming, tried to steer out of it, could do no more than that. And once again, I'm afraid, just like Norris Ring, Jake Hughes, very, very disappointed indeed. And a podium finish that got away from him, arguably, in that race, because good qualifying pace. And he must be thinking, what do I have to do to get a decent break in this championship this year? It was tough at the start of the season as Hi-Tech was struggling to get the right setup and get the right performance out of the car, if you like. Well, that now seems to have been addressed. But again, unfortunately, he's been the innocent victim of a tangle. But there are still 2 more races this weekend. Hopefully, he can fight back over the remainder of this sole visit to Belgium for the championship this season. So, we are under safety car conditions. Safety car is out there somewhere, ready for the pack to close upon it. And as soon as the car is out of harm's way, then we can go back to racing once more. Lando Norris working the cars then now up through the Courbe Paul Frere, out of campus past the college, and then up towards Blanchimont. Speed in race trim would build all the while to this point. So Lando Norris it is who heads the pack. Of course, we've not yet had a full racing lap out of all of this, with the full course yellow and then the safety car being implemented early on that opening lap. There are the SC boards then, just to get the message across that they will shortly come across the safety car. And Lando Norris works his way down towards the bus stop. Another overtaking opportunity on the lap. If you get a good run all the way through Blanchimont there, running in third spot, Nikita Mazepin. So good progress made by the Russian driver. So as one Hi-Tech driver is out, another one gets into the top 3. So a bittersweet race at the moment for the Hi-Tech team. Over the timing line goes then Lando Norris. The incident between Ilott and Hughes is under investigation. So the stewards are going to have a look at it. Emanuele Pirro here as part of that stewarding team. And they will see if it was a racing accident or whether anybody deserves the blame, and if they do, whether they deserve a penalty to go to it. There is another one we lost in that, and it was David Beckman, seemingly, who I thought I saw a car dart to the other side of the road, and Beckman, I fear, we've not really accounted for him in terms of damage, but Beckman's car never got to the end of the second sector, so I think he's off at Les Camps as well. As I say, there was one that looked like it had darted to the other side of the road. Have a look at the start again. Lando Norris with a very, very good start this time. As I said before the race began, they've not really been his forte, but there, absolutely nailed it. Got a great getaway down towards La Source, turns through the right-hander, and manages to keep Callum Ilott at bay. At the back of the pack, Kameavali Anatham goes through and sprints down past the endurance pits towards Eau Rouge. Speed building all the time at this point. Callum Ilott thinking he had a plan, really, which was to sit tight behind Lando Norris and then make the move climbing up the hill. Jake Hughes running third. Look at the gap, though, that was evident between third and fourth. Hughes and Gunter on the way down the hill. And bear in mind that Maxi Gunter then, here, look, tows himself up onto the back of Jake Hughes. You can see what's going on between the leaders, but look at Gunter in fourth place. Closing, closing, closing. And as Jake Hughes wonders which way to go against the top 2, Gunter's read the situation. He's put himself on the inside line, so he's ready to get up the inside and gain 1 place, which he does there. Then second place now, as the tangle comes, and Maximilian Gunter from fourth at the bottom of the hill to second at the top, bags even more points, and he could take a race win, of course. The safety car will be in this lap. As you look at the replay of Jake Hughes getting out of the car, everybody is ready to go racing once more as the field works its way down through Podium. Pedro Piquet, somebody that lost out badly on the first lap as well, because he's down in 16th place, Piquet having started 10th on the grid. So I think he perhaps got delayed trying to avoid all the dramas ahead of him, understandable, perhaps at the top of Les Combes. So we'll be back to racing this time. Safety car will be in, track is clear, and we've lost about 9 minutes. It will be about 9 or 10 by the time we go racing. And therefore Lando Norris will lead the way, but with less racing time that he has to defend, less racing time that Maximilian Günther can attack during as well, as they come now towards the Courbe Paul Frère once more. So Lando Norris, who had a win in the opening race at Silverstone and the opening race at Monza, looking for a third victory of the season here as the safety car accelerates its way towards Blanchimont. It will peel in at the end of this lap, and then we will be good to go racing once again here. The 16th race within the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. It's been a busy season. They've been to Silverstone, to Monza, to Po, to the Hungaroring, to Norris Ring, and now to a circuit that everybody has been looking forward to Spa, where they've had that early week test session, because it's a very challenging circuit for the drivers and to give them a bit of extra knowledge, in addition to the free practice that they had on Thursday morning, bright and early. They got that running early on in the week, so it's been a long stay in Belgium for many of the teams and the drivers. But we go racing again as Lando Norris leads the pack down towards the bus stop. Behind him is Maximilian Günther. Mazepin runs third. Aaron is fourth. Eilert fifth, seemingly having got away without any damage. And sixth, Joey Mawson, as the pack is unleashed again over the timing line. Green flags wave, and so now Maximilian Günther, not quite close enough to challenge at La Source, needs to get a good run out of the hairpin and then start to make that attack all the way up the hill, heading up towards Les Combes. Here they come. They blast past the endurance pits down towards Eau Rouge. In second place, Günther. Third is Mazepin, and Maximilian Günther has certainly dropped away on the restart. Now, is he near enough to benefit from the toe? You don't need DRS at a circuit like this. It can just be done on natural pace, and even with slicks and wings, overtaking is possible on this type of circuit. Now, Günther does close. Is he close enough at the top of Radion to have a go? In the background, look, Jay Mawson moves out, and Ralph Aaron goes for third against Mazepin. Günther to the outside. Norris defends well, elbows out, sits in the middle of the road. Right, left, and then right again, out of Les Combes. Ready to drop down towards Bruxelles, and for third place, Ralph Aaron still challenging Mazepin, who runs wide up the curb. Now under attack from Eilert is Aaron, and Callum Eilert goes through. Look, on the inside line, bags the place there. He works his way through on the inside line, does Callum Eilert. He goes fourth, so Ralph Aaron busy attacking, left the door open. Eilert takes full advantage and nips up and past him, but then he goes wide. Does Eilert, coming out of Speaker's Corner, wide up the curb. So he's now got himself into fourth, but very nearly lost the place back again to a charging Ralph Aaron behind him. And Callum Eilert, who astonishingly got away, it seems, from that contact without any damage, is pushing on now to try to recover some of that lost ground. Down towards Fagnes they come, the piff-paff, the right, the left. There, lower down the order is Mick Schumacher, trying to make some progress as well. His next target is Harry Newey. And the cars now swing their way up through campus. There is Joey Mawson. Callum Eilert gets a drive-through penalty. Drive-through penalty for 53, it says on the screen, so Callum Eilert gets a drive-through. He's just gained a place, but he's going to lose a whole heap of them now. The stewards, having had a look at that incident, feel that he was the guilty party, and so Callum Eilert gets a drive-through penalty. It doesn't help Jake Hughes, but it tries to get the message across about driving standards. So Callum Eilert is being given a drive-through penalty, and he will have to serve that pronto, as there, look, wheel to wheel down to the bus stop. This great battle continues between Ralph Aaron and Jehan de Reuvelot. De Reuvelot there falls back as he comes over the timing line. Ferdinand Habsburg looking quicker as well in 62. He did an absolute best in the first sector, helped by a toe, but he's also gaining ground as the leaders come over the line. So Jehan de Reuvelot up into fifth. Newey is now seventh. Up to eighth is Schumacher. Ninth is Habsburg. Callum Eilert has served the drive-through straight away. Gets rid of it, gets on with the race. A safety car would bring him back into contention. Let's see where he falls to when he rejoins the race. As Habsburg goes round the outside of Newey there. This is becoming a really impressive drive by Ferdinand Habsburg, chipping his way up the order. He didn't qualify all that flash, only 13th on the grid, and now he's got to defend. There's contact between him and Newey as they accelerate up Radion. Look at this battle pack. There are 5 of them. Habsburg goes one side and then the other to try to defend. Aaron up the inside to de Reuvelot onto the grass there as well. That's brave stuff by Joel Eriksson. Does he go through? He does. Ferdinand Habsburg has been mugged good and proper because they've all come streaming past him. Newey is past him, Schumacher is past him, so too is Ericsson, so also is Guan Yu Zhao, and so Ferdinand Habsburg, having just got up the order, has absolutely fallen down it big style. Guan Yu Zhao gains places on the inside line. Joel Eriksson has done the absolute best in sector 1, helped by a toe, of course, on the run up towards Les Combes. They run wider, look there, coming out of Speaker's Corner, downhill again. This, lap 5, we've got 19 minutes plus a lap at the end. Through turns, Joel Eriksson trying to get himself into the points, but look, you see how one battle has delayed people involved and broken up the pack. Ralph Aaron now having to defend from Joey Mawson. This is 5th and 6th as they turn their way through the Piff Paff, and having gained a place now, look, Jehan Daruvala is pulling away up the road. So Jehan Daruvala through Paul Frere, and as Ralph Aaron is having to defend, so Daruvala gets away up the road. Schumacher pushing, taking Joel Eriksson with him. There, lower down the order, is the recovering Pedro Piquet now, having got himself up onto the tail of Kevin Andres as they accelerate through Blanchimont. Race leaders are heading up towards the timing line, though. Lando Norris leading the way. Second, it is Günther, and Nikita Mazepin third, looking as though this could well turn out to be his best result of the season. You've got Harry Newey there attacking as well. Son of Adrian Newey into the bus stop, turn right, turn left, and back on the power. Piquet crawling all over the back of Kevin Suri. As over the timing line, it is Lando Norris then leading by 11 tenths from Maxi Günther now with 5 laps in the book. Mazepin is third, Daruvala fourth, Aaron is fifth, sixth is Mawson, seventh now it is Newey, eighth is Schumacher, 9th is Joel Eriksson, and 10th, rounding out the point scorers, is Guan Yu Zhao. And where is Callum Ilott? He's going to be 16th and stone last as he comes over the timing line. An incident noted at the restart between Vaidyanathan and Marino Sato. It was at turn 1 on the restart. The stewards say it has been noted. Let's see whether anything is done about those two that run near the back of the field as the race leaders again blast their way uphill. Game on for second place now. Norris pulling away, isn't he, as the fight's on for second place. Günther versus Mazepin. And there, Mick Schumacher challenging and goes ahead of Harry Newey for 7th place up on the inside line. So this is becoming a very impressive run by Schumacher. Started 14th and he's now 7th. Shows what the slipstreaming effect can do. But while we've had these little battles, gaps are opening up. Look at the margin between 3rd, which is Mazepin, and now 4th, which is Daruvala, as they drop downhill. To Pouan they turn for the 6th time, and Lando Norris now making good his escape. Fastest lap of the race last time around by Nikita Mazepin, a 2:12.747. Pole position time, a 2:12.1. And there, in 27, in 4th place, is Jehan Daruvala, still trying to play catch-up. He's not close enough to benefit from a toe yet, so he's got the hard yards to put in here and try and break away from Ralph Aaron behind him and catch the top 3, and then, having latched onto their coattails, benefit from the slipstream. What further progress can we get out of Joel Eriksson as well, the motor park driver? Winner at Silverstone, winner at Monza, winner at Po, winner at the Hungaroring. Pedro Piquet at the back of the pack making progress as well, up to 13th now as he chips away, getting himself up past some of those slower cars. Lando Norris, however, was pulling away in the middle sector, fractionally caught with a toe in the first, but let's see what the lap time is going to be like and what the gap is at the end of it. It was 11 tenths last time. Lock up there from Joel Eriksson, certainly pushing hard. The gap goes up, it's 1.2 now between the top 2. So Lando Norris looking as though he might just have broken away enough, especially now with Mazepin crawling all over the back of Günther. And if Maxi Günther has to start defending second place, that's going to be an absolute godsend for Lando Norris, who can further extend the advantage. Callum Ilott now, absolute best middle sector, fastest lap of the race for Callum Ilott as he plays catch-up and benefits from the slipstream against Sato. Proof of what could have been in terms of the pace. All of this, don't forget, with a car that was involved in a little tangle on the first lap. Right, 2nd and 3rd run, nose to tail. Mazepin inching up onto the back now as they work their way uphill towards Les Combes. He's in the wheel tracks, he goes to the outside line. Can he drive all the way around the outside of Günther for 2nd place? Yes, he can! Great move by Nikita Mazepin all the way around the outside, up into 2nd place now. Once released, can he do anything about the race leader? Nikita Mazepin having his best result, potentially, of the season. It's certainly his best drive. He turns out of Bruxelles. And Maxi Günther now knows that having been overtaken at that part of the circuit, it's quite a long wait before he's in a position where he might be able to fight back. You can't really do it at Pouan, you can't do it at Fagnes unless the driver ahead makes a mistake. So you've got to try and stay in touch all the way around to Blanchimont, maybe make a move at the bus stop. Failing that, stay nice and tight out of La Source and try again up the hill. But it's that run to Les Combes that's the key to the lap. And now, is Mazepin getting away, and can he do anything about Lando Norris? Let's see. Meantime, 4th and 5th, Daruvala going through ahead of Joey Mawson now. Up into 5th, down to 6th is Ralph Aaron, so Mawson showing better pace. Again, he was pretty good at the Norris ring, in fairness. Ended up in the wall in one race after contact, but here, looking a lot better. Through the curb, Paul Frere once more. We've got 14 minutes still on the clock, plus the lap at the end. Ralph Aaron turning his way through, and now making that run up towards the completion of the lap. Aaron for high-tech. Again, the team showing decent pace here, with one car, that of Mazepin, in 2nd. Ralph Aaron in 5th. Great shame about losing Jake Hughes early on, but the race leaders then, Lando Norris from Nikita Mazepin, about to come over the timing line. Is this going to be a gap that is possible to be brought down by Mazepin? It's 1.6 seconds. That's a very tall order, but Mazepin has just done the fastest lap of the race, so he's certainly not settling for 2nd spot. Gunter is 3rd, and he's 6/10ths back from the Russian driver. 4th then is Daruvala, 5th is Mawson, 6th is Aaron, a change there. 7th is Schumacher, 8th Newey, 9th Ericsson, who's plateaued for the moment. 10th is Zhao, and up to 11th is Piquet, having lost ground on that opening lap of the race. Leaders come by then to start lap number 8, and on the run up towards Les Combes, is this going to be a chance for Mazepin to do anything at all about Lando Norris? He's not close enough, of course, to really make a move, and there, look, Aaron is about to get mugged by Schumacher. This is for 6th, wheel to wheel. Mick Schumacher on the outside line. Gunter is back on the tail of Mazepin, and Schumacher goes through up into 6th spot then, moves himself through, goes ahead of Ralph Aaron. So the Prema Power team entry of Mick Schumacher gains the place, and Ralph Aaron drops back 1 spot as the cars now work their way out of the right-hander of the exit of Les Combes down towards Bruxelles. The next target for Schumacher is his one-time F4 teammate, Joey Mawson. The pair of them drove for Van Amersfoort's team 2 years ago as teammates. Joey Mawson has stayed loyal to Fritz Van Amersfoort, winning the German F4 title last year, driving for him in F3 this year. But Schumacher now really is charging, isn't he? Working his way up the order. So he now runs in 6th spot from 14th on the grid. Great effort. Meantime, Lando Norris leads, but lost a 10th in the 1st sector. So Nikita Mazepin absolutely flying now as he tries in these remaining 12 minutes plus a lap to get himself onto the tail of the race-leading car. There is Mick Schumacher, former karter, like so many of them. Went under the pseudonyms of Mick Jr. and then Mick Betch, which was his mother's maiden name. Tried to avoid all the spotlight, but when he came into car racing in F4, it was as Mick Schumacher, and in his 1st season, and of course a teenager, when he started racing in his mid-teens as well, it was a very bright spotlight, media following him all the way around the F4 paddocks, but he coped with that extremely well, and was a race winner in his 1st season, early in the season too, in his 1st year of car racing in the German F4 Championship. Harry Newey comes out of the bus stop, the leaders go through, the lead gap is up, in fact, 1.8 seconds. So despite Mazepin's pace at the start of the lap, he's losing a little bit of time, so another couple of 10ths dropped on that lap. 11.5 are on the clock as the field is all bunched up lower down, hasn't it? Schumacher, Aaron, Newey, Ericsson, Zhao, Habsburg, Piquet, all running in a long, long line, turning their way out of La Source. Prema looking pretty content about life, although Maxi Gunter is only 3rd. The key is that he's outscoring Ericsson. He will lose some points to Lando Norris, but Gunter coming into this race on 2.36, Lando Norris on 1.98. He can afford to lose a few, can't he? It's a big enough margin. Harry Newey in the black and orange car, onto the tail of Ralph Aaron, goes to the outside line as they climb up towards Les Combes. This for position, and it's going to be for 7th spot. Harry Newey goes through, gets the job done. Joel Eriksson has a cheeky look up the inside as well, can't find a way by, and sits back in the draft behind the high-tech car then. So the motor park entry, Timo Rumpfkeil's team operating Joel Eriksson's car down towards Bruxelles, into the right-hander, through it he will turn and then drop downhill. But Ericsson trying to find a way past Aaron, whose pace is dropping away in this, isn't he? He's fading as the race wears on. He's losing place, he's losing time from what was looking pretty decent 3 or 4 laps ago. In the 1st sector again, Nikita Mazepin just fractionally quicker than Lando Norris, but it looks as though Lando has been able now to build up enough of a margin. Through Port goes Pedro Piquet, yet to break into the top 10. Next target is Habsburg, and the last of the scorers is Guan Yu Zhao, just a little bit further up the road. So the gap's now just starting to open up a little bit more in this first of the 3 races for the F3 Championship this weekend. An absolute best middle sector, 3/10ths quicker than Norris by Mazepin. And that therefore means the gap will have come down a little bit. It was 1.8 at the start of the lap. It had come down in the 1st sector as well. So Nikita Mazepin now really is pushing. and a 3/10 gain in the middle sector is mighty impressive. There is Piquet on the tail of Habsburg now for 11th and 12th places. Kevin Andres dropping away a little bit further back for Motor Parkers, up towards the bus stop they come, but the race leading advantage has narrowed a little. It was 1.8, it's down to 1.2. Another best lap of the race for Mazepin. He had 2 new left tyres on going into this race, so also did Callum Ilott. So in theory, they're in the same place on tyres. Has Norris asked too much of his early on? Well, certainly the gap is coming down. It went to 1.8, it's dropped down to 1.2, and a new fastest lap of 2:12.309 now offered up by Nikita Mazepin. So the leading gap coming down and down and down. Is Mazepin going to be close enough on the run up towards Les Combes to do anything about making a move? I doubt. Can he get into the toe, however, and bring down that gap even further? 2:11 is the lap record set by Max Verstappen going back a few seasons now. As you look there at number 1, which is Joel Eriksson, he's got himself up past Ralph Aaron, has he now? Yes, he has. So Eriksson goes 8th as they come up towards Les Combes. There is Habsburg and Piquet and Zhao. So that means that Zhao goes down to 12th. Up into the points goes Habsburg for 10th, and Piquet into 11th spot, gaining out of all of that as well. In the first sector, Mazepin fractionally quicker than Lando Norris. But on the last lap, it was the middle sector that was the whole key to it. That's where he really did claw back the time. Downhill they turn, out of Speaker's Corner and on towards Pouhon then. This being lap number 10. 8 more minutes on the clock through that long left-hander. Downhill they turn, and then the run up towards Fagnes. So you've got Piquet closing onto the back of Habsburg, inching up onto the tail of the Austrian driver, and Ralph Aaron, does he have a problem? Because he has dropped down and down and down the order. He was, what, top 5 early in the race. He's now just hanging onto the fringes of the top 10. So Ralph Aaron in the high-tech car, falling away, not being able to retaliate. It seems, look, as soon as people go past him, the gap widens yet further. So frustrating this for Ralph Aaron, who benefited at the start, but from 7th on the grid, is dropping down and down and down. Callum Ilott up into 15th after his drive-through, up into 14th now, ahead of Amaya Vaidyanathan. So he's just managed to find a way through in the middle sector of this lap out of shot. 7 minutes on the clock, leaders come through, gap had gone up again in the middle sector, and by the end of the lap, it has gone up to 1.5 seconds. So Lando Norris responding. His last lap was a personal best, a 2:12.4. Mazepin still with the fastest lap of the race to his name. Rest of the pack comes over the timing line. It's 1.5 seconds then between Norris and Mazepin. It's 1.7 seconds Mazepin to Günther, who looks as though he's now pretty much settling for position here, banking the points ahead of his main rival Joel Eriksson. But Eriksson coming into this race only 4 points up on Lando Norris. Lando's going to get second in the championship, isn't he, with 2 more races to run here at Spa. And of course he's starting the other 2 from pole position as well. So we've got to say this could be an excellent weekend, a pivotal weekend in the championship for the young British driver. There is Joel Eriksson, who needs no reminding that the championship is slipping away, and Ralph Aaron needs no reminding that he's about to lose another place, because now he's about to lose 9th spot to Ferdinand Habsburg, who comes up the inside. Easy peasy that, wasn't it? Just drafts his way by, and limited response, limited resistance from Ralph Aaron. So clearly he's struggling with the car, with pace, and he's just losing place after place now. Habsburg goes through, up now into 9th spot as they come down towards the right at Bruxelles. Out of the right-hander to the left at Speaker's Corner, and then down to Pouhon through the left. Use all the curb on the outside of the road. There's limited runoff, but actually you don't get that many cars in the tyre wall anymore. You do occasionally, but it's not the crash fest that it had a spate of being a few years back. There is Piquet through Pouhon. Again, a very different look to the corner over recent years. Gone are the grass verges and the gravel beds. Now you've got all that run-off tarmac put in for Formula 1 purposes. And again, track limits, therefore, on occasions becomes an issue. But really, it has become, this weekend for Formula 3, hardly mentioned. In GT cars, yes, at Blanchimont and at Raidillon, but Formula 3 getting on with the job and doing it properly. Now there, look, is Piquet, and this is going to be for a point. Ralph Aaron is 10th. Here comes Pedro Piquet, gets the run through Spa-Francorchamps, round the outside of Blanchimont. Brave stuff by Piquet, but he's got the car speed to get the job done nice and easy. And again, Ralph Aaron, just with nothing by way of retaliation, falls further back. So Pedro Piquet goes 10th. He gets a point after all the hard work. And Ralph Aaron will be a hugely frustrated driver. The Estonian just dropping down and down and down the order. Lead gap is up to 1.8 seconds now. 11 laps are in the book as the leaders go over the timing line. Maximilian Günther still running in third spot. It is de Ruyveler fourth, it's Mawson fifth, it's Schumacher sixth, it's Newey seventh, Ericsson is eighth, Habsburg is ninth, and as you've just seen, Piquet now is up into the top 10. Lando Norris on target not only to win outright, but also, of course, to be the winning rookie. Second of the rookies is de Ruyveler, third of the rookies is Joey Mawson. And there is Lando Norris turning in, thus far, an impeccable performance. Some of his wins this year he's made hard for himself by making a slow start, but here it was an absolute peach of a getaway, and he now leads by 1.8 seconds, although 2/10 dropped in the first sector. Nikita Mazepin is still pushing hard, 4 more minutes still to go. Now Ferdinand Habsburg, and there you see Piquet and Aaron still battling. Ralph Aaron finally retaliates, gets a toe and tries to fight back, but doesn't really do him much good, I'm afraid. I was about to suggest Habsburg crawling all over the back of Ericsson here. That's for 8th place, but Lando Norris, the race leader, clear up front, 1.8 seconds. There, a bit lonely now, is Guan Yu Zhao, who has dropped down the order, down to 12th spot, so out of the points therefore. And we've got 3 3/4 minutes plus the regulation lap on at the end as the cars head down once again towards Pouhon. Turn through the left, Zhao for Prema. As I say, has fallen down the order into 12th spot now. The race leaders accelerate through the 12th lap of this first of 3 races at Spa-Francorchamps, the second qualifying session, sorting out the grids for races 2 and 3, your best and second best times being how the grids are formed. Lando Norris on pole position for the subsequent brace of races as well. There, Carlin teammate Jan de Ruyveler hanging on to the place ahead of Joey Mawson, showing again improved pace from Van Amersfoort, but it's certainly nowhere near as competitive a team as it was in the days of Max Verstappen, and then of course Charles Leclerc, who didn't win the championship, but was a regular race winner the season after Max, in the same chassis indeed that Max had raced the year before. So Norris now is 2 seconds clear of Mazepin. We've got time for 2 more laps in the time, plus the regulation lap at the end, I would offer you, as Lando Norris holds sway. 2.5 seconds adrift of the top 2 in third is Maximilian Günther. Rest of the order you can see on screen with their Ferdinand Habsburg again inching up onto the back of Joel Ericsson, 6/10 back as they came over the timing line. Down towards Eau Rouge they swing through the compression at the bottom of the hill, climb up the other side and then blast on up towards Les Combes, the scene of all the dramas on the first lap. There Lando Norris, and there's the gap over Nikita Mazepin. They are 1,000th apart in terms of their sector times in that opening sector of the lap. Norris 1,000th quicker to that timing point than Mazepin. Third still Günther, fourth de Ruyveler, Mawson is fifth, Schumacher sixth, and after all the early dramas in the race, now it has quietened down just ever so slightly, so it's not as frantic as perhaps anticipated. A shame that we had that incident early on, because I'm sure that Jake Hughes would have been a factor for a podium finish, but for the dramas with Eilert. Callum Eilert's progress, such as it is now 14th, so he will not score, and Callum fourth in the championship coming into this race. Again, another driver giving away points. When you are given that drive-through penalty, there's no appeal to it. You've just got to take it on the chin, get on with it. Callum Eilert does that and knows that over a long season he can hopefully bounce back from it. But the British driver who came into the championship as a Red Bull junior a couple of seasons back, now third different team in 3 years. He was a race winner for Van Amersfoort last season, a race winner this year for Prema, and Callum still in with a chance, but he needs a good haul of points in races 2 and 3. Ferdinand Habsburg you're looking at there, the Carlin driver, ex-Formula Renault racer, comes up now through the right at the Cours Paul Frère, speed building all the time. And still we've not really accounted for David Beckman's car that went AWOL on the first lap of the race. I'm sure it was up at Les Combes somewhere. He'd gone through the end of the first sector, so he got to that part of the circuit, never came out of it. But I'm still convinced his was the car darting out of harm's way as we were focusing on Jake Hughes on the other side of the road being accosted by Callum Eilert. Lando Norris then leading now by 2.2 seconds, just ticking off the laps. He's got 1 more under the time and then the regulation lap at the end, so 2 to run for him now. Out of La Source, are we going to have any more changes before the end? There is Mick Schumacher, who is 11/10ths back from Joey Mawson. Does he have a chance of getting himself back into the mix? Let's see as they make the run downhill here. There, in 27, is de Ruyveler, climbs uphill once again. De Ruyveler looking looking as though he's going to be off the podium. He's 3.5 seconds back as Habsburg again has not given up in the quest to get ahead of Joel Eriksson. The Motor Park car on the inside, easily drafted. Habsburg just saunters past, but Eriksson gets into the slipstream and tries to bide his time and then make a move reminiscent of Verstappen and Ocon this in Formula 3 a few years back. Tries to go around the outside line, but he can't do it. And so Ferdinand Habsburg hangs on to 8th place. And Joel Eriksson, championship leader a few rounds back, struggling down in 9th. Motor Park still looking as though it has not got the ideal setup. So there he is, Joel Eriksson, not only now stuck behind Habsburg, having lost a place, but look who's arrived on his tail. It is Pedro Piquet. And so it could be that Eriksson, having lost one, loses a 2nd position as well before the very end. We've got another lap to go at the end of this. And look how close Piquet is to the back of him. He has a look to the inside down at Pont, can't find a way through there. Towards Fagnes they come for the 14th time. One more lap to run at the end of this. Pedro Piquet is there, hustling on behind Joel Eriksson. So this battle brewing up now for 9th and 10th places. Can Pedro Piquet get himself further up the order? He's lost a little bit of ground, has he not, against Joel Eriksson on the run through these last couple of corners. Into the long, fast left of Blanchimont they come. The race leaders, however, are about to come across the timing line to start the last lap of the race, and they do so with Norris ahead now by, what, 2.7 seconds. Despite Nikita Mazepin's efforts, it is a whopping margin on this last lap. Gunter is 3rd, and then 4th and 5th, Daruvala to Mawson. It's half a second, and last time Joey Mawson was just a gnat quicker by hundreds, so he's close. Can he have a go going up towards Les Combes? Joey Mawson has really struggled this year. He's not yet been on the podium. He won't be here, but could we get 4th place out of him, which would be a great result? He drops away a little bit on the run out of La Source. So there is Gian Daruvala looking as though he might be able to hang on to position. Schumacher hangs on to 6th. This is the run up now towards Les Combes. And although Mawson was close at La Source, he has dropped back, hasn't he? So now, look, he's just about benefiting from the slipstream, which brings him closer. But by the time he's got to the corner, he's still too far back to make a challenge, so he has to go right, left and right again in the knowledge that that might have been his last effort to gain another place. Turns out on the right from Les Combes down towards Bruxelles. Daruvala for Carlin ahead of the Van Amersfoort car in the hands of Joey Mawson. Mercedes power for Joey, and it is the Volkswagen engine powering the Carlin car as you look at the slide of Joey Mawson midway through Les Combes. So he's certainly pushing, certainly trying. But on this, the last half of the last lap now, I think he's too far back with insufficient time remaining, especially given that Lando Norris is looking so strong as he works his way towards the pit path once again up front in the lead. 2.7 seconds then, Norris heading for win number 3 of the season. He's won here in F4, he's won here in Formula Renault, he's going to win here in Formula 3 as well. Race leaders then are making their way towards Blanchimont, as down towards Campus then goes Joey Mawson, and he's certainly not given up against Daruvala. The gap is down as Lando Norris then, having been very impressive in terms of pace in the last races at the Norris Ring, sprints his way now up towards the bus stop chicane, and he's about to turn his way through then. Into the right, into the left, and Lando Norris accelerates up towards the checkered flag. He will come through now and score victory. Lando Norris wins at Spa, comes over the timing line victorious. 2nd is going to go the way of Nikita Mazepin, the gap at the flag being 2.8 seconds. Mazepin absolutely delighted with his best finish of the season and applauding the team as he comes across the line. And who is it going to be for 3rd spot? Maximilian Gunter it is, to cement his championship advantage. Then Gian Daruvala for 4th, Joey Mawson will take 5th, and Mick Schumacher for 6th place as they come across the line. 7th, Harry Newey, 8th, Habsburg, 9th is Eriksson, and 10th is Pedro Piquet. So Ralph Aaron down to 11th, falling down the order as the race wore on. Hugely disappointing for the Estonian driver. So the cars make their way the wrong way up the pit lane, quickly therefore back towards Parc Fermé and thence to the podium. Lando Norris, the winner of this 16th race of the season, and in a moment he will hop out of the car and make his way to the technical checks and the weighing area that all the drivers go to. 3 different teams. You've got Carlin, High Tech and Prema. And good to see as well Mix of teams, mix of drivers. Lando Norris then out of the car. And there, the winning rookie will very shortly make his way up to the podium. So the drivers have a quick word with one another, clamber out of the cars, and will soon make their way up to the podium, with 2 more races still to come here this weekend. A 4th win, not a 3rd, apologies to Lando Norris then, after an excellent effort. So Lando Norris win number 4. Maximilian Günther continues to rack up the points. And after being the runner-up last year to Lance Stroll, comes into the season as very much one of the favourites. But Lando Norris takes the race win, 2.8 seconds ahead of Nikita Mazepin. Maxi Günther 3rd ahead of Jean de Rivela. 5th, Joey Mawson. Mick Schumacher, a great drive up from 14th to 6th, ahead of Harry Newey, and then Ferdinand Habsburg, who fought well. Joel Eriksson gained and lost in the end to be 9th, and Pedro Piquet it is who rounds out the point scorers. Behind them, 11th goes the way of Ralph Aron, ahead of Guan Yu Zhao. Kevin Andres ahead of the recovered Callum Ilott, who of course had to serve that drive-through penalty. Marino Sato next, Romeo Vaidyanathan. The 2 retirements, Jake Hughes and David Beckman, out on that early lap of the race. So Lando Norris it is as the winning rookie driver. It's a separate podium for them, but Norris ahead of Nikita Mazepin and Maxi Günther for the top 3 overall. Podium ceremony will be coming up shortly. Drivers will be making their way up the steps for the overall podium and, of course, the rookie celebration as well. Stefano Domenicali, the FIA single-seater commission president, on hand to make the presentation to the winning driver. And let's just have a quick look at the highlights of the opening race for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship as we wait for the drivers to head up to the podium. With pole position getting the way of Lando Norris, he was in dominant mood as the lights went out. He blasted away from pole position, got the drop on everybody on the run down towards La Source. Callum Ilott doing his best to level with him on the outside line, but he had to slot in behind. He then tried to make a move on the way up towards Les Combes, and this was the real turning point of the race. Ilott round the outside of Norris. Eventually he ran out of road, ran over the curb and ran into Jake Hughes. Out went British driver Hughes with smashed suspension. Callum Ilott got away with it in terms of damage, but had to serve a drive-through penalty for causing the collision. To get Jake Hughes' car out of the way, safety car deployed. Everybody bunched up, and after a couple of laps, the race was back underway as the marshals, rather undignified fashion, managed to make sure that Jake Hughes' car was out of harm's way. The green flags flew, we went racing, and Callum Ilott served that drive-through penalty, falling down the order. But the man on a mission, undoubtedly, was Nikita Mazepin, getting himself up round the outside of Maxi Günther in a great move to bag 2nd place. He worked his way past and then set off in pursuit of the race leader. He did bring the gap down. He did set the fastest lap, but there was nothing he could do to catch Lando Norris victorious at the end of the first of 3 races here at Spa. Thumbs up all round from the British driver. And Lando Norris then will be heading to the top step of the podium very shortly as the teams get themselves ready for the 2nd race, which comes up later on in the afternoon, because Formula 3 will be in action again here on track at 3:25 local time. So the FIA officials getting everybody ready. Top 3 outright, top 3 rookies as well that we will have. There is Jean de Rivela, one of those rookie drivers, taking 2nd in that class ahead of Joey Mawson. Stefano Domenicali there, in the FIA jackets, as the single-seater commission president. And, of course, a great enthusiast for this type of racing. He also has a consultancy role these days with Lamborghini, so he'll be interested in the other action on track, not just GT cars, in which Lamborghini has a real presence, certainly in, of course, the total 24 Hours of Spa, but also in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. We have 2 races for that here as well. This great festival of racing for the fans at Spa. So as soon as everybody's in the right place and as soon as we have all the trophies and the bottles of champagne, now the drivers are called forward. And Lando Norris it is who takes a 4th win of the year, heads for the top step of the podium and gets ready to spray the champagne, takes the foil off the top. The 2nd place, best result of the season for Nikita Mazepin. He steps forward now. And then for 3rd position, it is the championship leader, Maximilian Günther, who heads to the podium. And then the winning team, which is Carlin, represented there as well, noisily as well. And so with the top 3 drivers and the team, they will now be for Carlin and, of course, for Lando Norris, the British national anthem. For Lando Norris and for Carlin then, the national anthem is played, and now we will look forward to the presentations, which will be conducted in a moment, as the dignitaries, as I say, will be brought forward. Stefano Domenicali, the FIA Single-Seater Commission President, steps forward, says well done to Maxi Günther, well done to Nikita Mazepin, but especially well done to the race winner, Lando Norris, his 4th win of the year in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and of course he's the winning rookie. Then Nestlé Maillet, the CEO of the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, hands over the winning team trophy. And then Stefano Domenicali back to hand over the 2nd place trophy to Nikita Mazepin after his and High-Tech's best result of the season. And then for 3rd place, Nestlé Maillet will hand over the trophy also. And that goes to Maximilian Günther, the championship leader. And he's dropped a few points to Lando Norris, yes, but he has certainly gained an even bigger advantage over Joel Eriksson. So things looking very promising indeed as he stands with Lando and with Nikita on the top step. Carlin gets in on the act as well. The team having taken Lando Norris to success now for the 4th time this year, and also, of course, taking Jehan Daruvala to a race win at the Norris Ring, the Lando Norris Ring. So, celebration time as Lando lets loose with the Henkel Trocken. And he can go through all this again in a few minutes because there will be the rookie podium as well. Very happy scenes on the podium. And Lando Norris, we may well be seeing a lot more of up there because, as I mentioned earlier on, we've got 2 more races to come and he's on pole position for both of those as well. So he's going to take some stopping, it would seem, over the course of this weekend. I hope he's got a spare pair of overalls for this afternoon because that set not only is drenched, but it's going to stink of champagne. And if Lando can see anything now with the champagne in his eyes, you can go through all this again in a few minutes and get back onto the podium as the winning rookie. When Carlin celebrates as a team, doesn't it? So, confident of a job well done here, and of course, of a great effort for qualifying for race 2 coming up this afternoon. So Lando Norris it is who scores victory outright and wins the rookie competition in our first FIA Formula 3 European Championship race of the weekend. And as I say, race 2 coming up a little bit later on because they will take to the track at 3:25 local time. And we look forward to your company then to see whether Lando Norris can make it 2 from 2 this afternoon at Spa. He wins race 1. We'll see you later in the day. For now, from David Addison at Spa, bye-bye.